right. Do I start on your episodes? It's been so long since we've done this.
I think I start on mine and you start on yours.
Okay, I clap on
You
your
clap
episodes.
on mine. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the Balance for Life podcast. Our goal, our vision, our purpose here is to uncover and unlock the secrets to true happiness, lasting success, all the things that everybody wants in life.
There you go.
Right? We want to help you find it.
And if you like what you hear, please give us a like, 5-star review, comment, share it with somebody that you think would benefit from it, and join us on social media. One of Adam's New Year's resolutions is to post more on social media, and one of mine is to maybe help. We'll see. I don't know. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm doing a lot of social media for the band.
It's true. It's true. You have picked up the slack on that a lot, so maybe I should spend a little more time.
But we're at Balance 4 Life Podcast on those, and then on Twitter it's at Adam and Perry, all spelled out. And then you can watch us on YouTube if you're just listening and you want to watch us, because we're pretty good looking.
It's true.
So
we both have pretty spectacular beards going on at this point.
Yeah, last time we filmed, I think it's been a while. I don't think I had a beard last time. Maybe the last episode, but
I don't think you did. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's been a couple weeks, but no, I feel like that's maybe a good thing. We took some time off during the holidays, and
we filmed one episode that we ended up needing to refilm with a guest, so we should have that soon.
Yeah. But for those of you that are paying attention at this point, we are just after the new year, and I mean, what are we?
January 7th.
So we're a week into the new year.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
We're at the point where everybody has forgotten about their resolutions that they set 1 week ago.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about today, actually.
Yeah. Nice segue.
Yeah, that was a perfect segue. So I really did. I wanted to dive into this whole concept of resolution. So I read a book. I read a lot of books. A lot of these, I get way off topic sometimes.
These ideas often come
I was going to say,
books.
a lot of the ideas that I have tend to start out with, I read a book.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Read. Which brings me to my next point, kids.
Stay in school.
Read more books.
So, why do we set New Year's resolutions, Adam? Back on topic.
Oh, I'm so tired today.
So yeah, why do we set resolutions on New Year's? Like, what is it about?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people, and I spent a long time setting resolutions myself. And I think it has something to do with the changing of the year, and I think
it's a new beginning, new start.
It's a new beginning, new start. And I think some of it too might have to do with, I don't have a specific stat on this, but if anybody wants to, feel free to look it up. But I'll bet you could find it. I would say that January is probably the most depressing month out of the year.
Well, yeah. My wife and I have always talked about that, because you have these exciting holidays, Thanksgiving, New Year's, that
Halloween.
Halloween. That help you get through the cold, the snow, if you live in a place like we do here in Utah, where it gets, the weather's not great in the winter. Mm-hmm. And so, unless you love skiing or something.
It's true.
And then you get into January, and you're done with all this vacation time that you've had, and you might have like Martin Luther King Day off or President's Day or something, but my next actual holiday is in May. Okay. And so from January to May, all my vacation time is PTO that I'm taking.
Gotcha.
So it just feels like really dreary until it starts getting warm again in the spring.
Yeah, and it's like, it's dark, it's gray, it's cloudy, it's for many of us it's snowy, it's stormy. And so I think that might have something to do with it, is people are just looking for a way to overcome the depressing time of year. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we set resolutions, but I think it's an interesting concept, a resolution. right? It's like we spend the entire year not focusing on goals, not trying to improve ourselves, right? And then come November, December, we say, I want to do better. I want to, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to do some retrospection, look inside, and figure out that there's things that we need to improve on, because we all do. We all have them.
Yep.
And so I think maybe that's another thing with the resolution aspect of it, is why do we only do it in January, right?
Yeah.
It's because we spend the whole year, come the end of the year, and we're sitting there thinking, oh, it's the end of the year. What have I actually accomplished? And so I think a lot of people look at it as, well, I haven't done much this year. I want to do better next year. And so we set those resolutions. We start that process. And then January comes and we're all gung-ho about it. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we set resolutions. But I want to look at it a little bit different. Right? So I actually, the book that I read a few years back, and I read it, I actually read it every year towards the beginning of the year for the last few years, is called Unresolution by Tommy Baker. And for those of you that have not read it, which is probably all four of you, but for those of you that haven't read it, it's a phenomenal book. And the concept in it, I absolutely loved, and it 100% resonated with me. And so I took this concept and I've used it now the last probably 3 or 4 years, where I actually don't set New Year's resolutions because I think there's a better way to look at it. So I want to talk a little bit about that idea of maybe some of the common mistakes when we set resolutions, right? Why? Because we all know this. We all know that you set your January resolutions. Day one, you're super gung-ho about it, super into it. Day two, it's like, oh, well, I kind of want to sleep in today. I don't really want to get up and go to the gym. Oh, that piece of cake looks really good, and I don't want to, I don't want to miss out on that.
Right.
And so I think we have a tendency, maybe that's one of the flaws with resolutions, is we have a tendency to make a lot of mistakes when it comes to the resolutions that we set.
Yeah.
So maybe let's take a minute and dive into what are some of the common mistakes
So
that we make.
A couple months ago, actually this is probably like 4 months ago now, one of our earlier episodes was on SMART goals. So again, that's your goals should be SMART. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, related to whatever.
I think relevant or realistic. I've seen it both ways.
And then timely, or you have a time constraint on it for your goal, right? So I think one of our flaws often when we set New Year's resolutions is we maybe don't use SMART. So we might say, like, I want to start exercising. Well, that's not very specific. It's not measurable. It's not timely.
You say, I want to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So now a SMART goal would be like, I want to get to this weight or this body fat percentage or whatever by this date, or something like that. And then you break it up into smaller chunks. Like, I'm going to do that by maybe having a healthy smoothie or salad every day and exercising 20 minutes a day, 4 days a week, or whatever. You break it up into smaller chunks and you actually set like a plan for yourself. That would be more of a SMART goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's perfect. I can't remember where this quote came from, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but the idea is a goal without a deadline is just a wish. It's just a dream. It's not real. Right?
Yeah.
There's no summit. There's no peak to it. So,
for sure.
Yeah. So I think that idea of when we set our resolutions, we're not necessarily setting goals that are attainable. We're not
Mhm.
setting goals that we can
that are
achieve.
timely.
Or we're not setting goals that we're putting a deadline on, and so it's just like, oh well, I can wait until tomorrow.
Mhm.
I can do this right now, and it'll be okay. Yeah,
So we tend to set New Year's dreams instead of New Year's resolutions. We just call them resolutions.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I like that. That was a good one. I think another mistake that we make, one of the common mistakes that I think is made in setting resolutions, is we tend to only focus on one aspect of health.
Yeah.
And
Physical health.
again, if you guys are here to learn how to lose weight or how to get in better shape,
We might help a little bit with that, but yeah.
You're kind of in the wrong place. There are a lot of other resources out there for you to learn what diets work and what diets don't, and for you to learn how to split up your exercising and things like that. Our focus is about balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, to me, that seems like one of the biggest mistakes that we make is we only focus on one aspect of our health, and that kind of neglects other things in the process.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because the example that I gave for the SMART goals only focused on the physical health, and I kind of did that on purpose, but it's because those are the goals we tend to set for New Year's resolutions. And my one of the things I did this year, as we were talking about New Year's resolutions with the family, I only vocalized one out loud just because we were each think one thing we want to do better this year, one goal.
Mm-hmm.
And but I've been thinking about a goal for each area of my health. So, and this podcast has helped me to get to that point where that's automatic for me. If I think about where do I want to improve, I'm not just thinking physical, I'm thinking spiritual, I'm thinking mental health, and I'm thinking financial. What are some things I want to accomplish?
Absolutely.
In each.
Yep. Absolutely. So I think that's awesome. We need to be thinking balance. We need to be thinking about all the different areas, because as we've discussed in past episodes, and as we will continue to discuss in the future of this podcast, everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
If you neglect your emotional health, if you neglect your financial health, if you neglect your spiritual health, your physical health is not going to help you find happiness. It's not going to help you find success.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. So the next mistake that we often make is we don't have a follow-up plan. It's like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to start exercising, and then February comes around and we don't have anything set in place to help us keep going with it. It's just kind of like this idea we throw out there, we do it a little bit, and then we stop.
Yeah, we don't have any tracking methods. We don't have any way of making sure that we're still following through. Yeah.
Well, and part of it is breaking down that goal into smaller, bite-sized chunks.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think another mistake that we kind of make, and maybe tied into that, is we tend to give up.
Yeah.
Really easily. It seems like the first hint of adversity, the first time that something doesn't work right, we get into a week into the year and we eat that piece of cake and we just say, well, I'm done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
we don't work out that one day we're supposed to.
Yeah, we miss one day working out, and then it's just, well, I guess there goes my resolution for the year, and then we give up, and come February, March, we have no goals left, and then we get to October, November, December, and we're saying, oh, I want to do better again. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's another issue, is we give up way too easily. We don't look at things as, it's okay to make a mistake.
Right. It's
okay to slip up. It's okay to have those hurdles, to have those obstacles, and just do it again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're in this one day at a time, and that's all we have. All we are guaranteed is right now.
Yeah.
And so if you mess up right now, hey, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, and we can try again tomorrow.
Yeah. So because we've been doing this podcast, I kind of took inventory, right, a few months ago, and there were a couple areas that I decided to make changes, and one of them was my physical health. So I started lifting weights, and I was consistent for longer than I've ever been in my whole life, and actually noticing physical changes, not just in my weight, but in how I look, how I feel. And then around December is when I started to struggle a little bit. Now I've kept it going. It just, haven't done as much as I was doing before. So instead of 3 days a week, it's kind of gotten to like 1 to 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of lifting weights for 20 minutes, like I've been doing it sometimes for like 10 minutes. But I'm not giving up. Like I've been just trying to push through this kind of period of a lack of motivation that I've been experiencing. And so 3 or 4 days ago, so my plan is to lift weights today. And I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. So this is Saturday. Monday or Tuesday, I think it was Monday, I lifted weights for like 10 minutes. And, I didn't do all of the workouts that I usually do, but I did the ones that I felt like were most important.
Yeah.
And I did a workout, and I'm like, you know what? I might have a month or two where I just really don't want to do it anymore. And if I just keep pushing, and even if I'm doing a little bit less, just keep it going, keep that habit going, I'll get to the point where I'm feeling motivated again. Like it's going to happen. Yeah. I just have to keep doing it while I'm not motivated.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting too. I mean, we talk about lifting weights, we talk about certain exercises, we talk about certain diet plans, and that might not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be what gets you motivated. You might want to start working out, you might want to start lifting weights, and you get into it and do it for a week and realize that, hey, this isn't for me, right? Mm-hmm. And those times when you stop feeling motivated and you feel like, maybe this isn't the best idea for me. Maybe this isn't the way that I want to exercise. Try something else. There are a lot of different ways to get exercise. And if all you do is move, you're still releasing all of those same chemicals as when you lift weights or when you do whatever. And you're increasing flexibility, you're increasing your stamina, you're increasing your strength.
Your immune system.
So anything that you can do to be physically active, and I like what you said, where you start out and you're super excited and you're really motivated about it, and then you hit a wall. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens to everybody.
Yep.
And it's that at that point in time when you have a choice to make, and you can say, well, I'm going to just keep going with it because that's what I've been told to do. Or you can say, do I really need to do it for 20 or 30 minutes? Or if I just do something, am I still getting the benefits? Right? Or maybe it's time to change it up.
Maybe I should change it. Maybe I should.
Maybe
now I go to a gym instead of working out of my office.
Maybe instead of lifting weights, I go run on an elliptical, or I go swimming, or I go shake it up. Keep it interesting, And I think that's one of the reasons why we tend to give up. Is we hit that wall, and I think that's the number one thing, is we hit that wall and we can't see any way past it, and we give up. Or we stop feeling motivated, we don't want to do something, and so we give up. Mm-hmm. And so just figure out a way to get through it, and maybe pivot, maybe find something different, maybe cut back a little bit, like you said. So I think that's one of the things, is we just need to persevere. We need to have a little bit more endurance. We need to just keep trying, keep going. Every day we can recognize those small improvements. Mm-hmm.
For sure. And then the last one that we wanted to discuss is waiting for an arbitrary number to change. Now you wrote that. I maybe I'll let you expand on it. But first, I'm gonna just say what it makes me think of, I guess, or feel. I feel like whether it's your weight, you're like just kind of waiting for that weight to change without really doing anything about it. Or like for me, I'm posting stuff on social media for the band, and I'm like waiting for those views to go up, or for those number of followers to go up. And maybe I'm not doing everything I should be doing to make that happen. I'm posting a video, but am I sharing it with people? Am I, instead of waiting for that change, like what am I proactively doing?
Yeah. And I think that's an excellent way to look at it. We do need to be proactive. We need to be motivated. We need to be actively working to make those things change into achieving those baby steps.
Yeah.
What was the movie? Baby steps to the door, baby steps
to the kitchen.
I'm gonna have to put that in the notes now. I haven't
been
doing
about
very good at
Bob?
That was a good one. I haven't been doing very good at putting the show notes in. I need to go back and do that.
Yeah.
But Yeah. So taking those baby steps, being active, trying to make these things work out. The other flip side of that coin, though, is we get into November, December, we start to see maybe my belly's hanging out over my belly. I look down, suck it in. But we see these things and we start to think, okay, that's something I want to change about myself. And we do a really good job because we start with the taking inventory. We recognize that something needs to change and we decide that we're going to make some changes. But then we say, well, it's November 20th. Thanksgiving's in a couple of weeks. Christmas is in a few weeks. We've got New Year's coming up. I'm just going to wait until New Year's. I'm going to set this resolution. I'm going to set this New Year's resolution that
I'm going to start
year,
in a month.
and I'm going to start in a month and a half. And then what happens? Thanksgiving rolls around, and we go nuts. We eat ourselves sick. And then all through December, we've got the holiday parties, whatever holiday you celebrate. We celebrate Christmas. Whatever holiday you celebrate, good on you. Do it. But we have holiday parties.
We get goodies from neighbors.
And we get gifts from neighbors. Oh, tangent. Growing up, there was a Hispanic family that lived down the street from my parents. And they made the best tamales.
Oh, yeah.
For Christmas. And they would deliver them. And the first year, we had no idea where they came from. There was no name on it.
Oh.
There was no indication of where it had come from. It was just this bag of tamales left on our front porch. And so my parents, being the 90s, it was we hesitated to eat them. And so we ended up throwing away this bag of homemade tamales. Oh, man. The next year, they figured out where they had come from. And it was this family that lived down the street from us. And we didn't really know them. Our church, our ward boundary had split when I was young. And so they ended up on a different side of the boundary. And so we didn't, we interacted with our neighbors quite a bit, but we didn't really know these people.
Yeah.
And I think they had moved in after the fact. Anyway, so yeah, the next year we figured out where they had come from. And they were so good. If you've never had homemade tamales,
yeah, they're delicious.
It's one of the best things in the world. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
Something to do with in December.
Yeah, the holiday parties, the neighbor gifts, the treats, the goodies. There's I always love to get the Hickory Farms. The Hickory Farm stand in the mall. You get the summer sausage and the cheese mixes and the mustards. And, it's so good. But so we spend this month and a half leading up to this date that we say, I'm going to make every change in the book on this day. What's so special about that day?
Yeah.
What's so special about the calendar changing or time changing or this arbitrary number that...
Oh, that's what you mean, an arbitrary date. Yeah.
But let's be honest. A lot of us probably don't even understand how the calendar system works.
Right.
And so we base our entire goal setting on this arbitrary number change. And we say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want today and for the next month and a half. And then all of a sudden, just like a light switch, I'm going to flip it on January 1st. I'm going to flip the switch and everything's going to change.
Right.
And I'm going to be so good and I'm going to be so motivated, but I'm not going to do it right now.
But our whole podcast is about making small changes, making progress, improving over time.
Yeah.
And so it's the opposite of what we tend to do for New Year's, right? What we've been talking about the last 4 or 5 months is, okay, find one area where you can make a small change, something that you can stay motivated enough to do, something that's not too overwhelming, that's going to make an impact. Make that change right now. Okay, once that's ingrained in you, add something else to it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in January. If you're listening to this in June, pick one thing and make a change, something that'll help you have faith in yourself, right? Back in, I think it was June or July, I started working out. And here we are in January. I've tapered off a little bit, but I'm still doing it. I'm pushing through this period where I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me faith in myself and being able to accomplish something.
Yeah.
And that bleeds into other areas of your life, right? So if you pick something that has to do with your intellectual health, right? Like reading one book every week or month or whatever it is for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you stick with that, and that's like the one thing you focus, you stick with it, that's going to change you to the point where you're like, I can make changes. And now I'm going to pick something that has to do with my physical health. Or now I'm going to pick something that has to do with my financial health or my mental, emotional health, right? And you make those changes, or spiritual health, and then you become a different person. That's the goal.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think it goes back to, I can't remember which episode it was, but I threw out the mantra, believe, behave, become.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly it. Is you find something that needs to change, you think about it, it becomes a belief that something needs to change. You start to change your behaviors, and you create new habits, and then you become a different person. And I think that's exactly right. And so I think that, I don't know if you were already segued into this.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was headed.
But yeah, so I think that leads us into alternatives to resolutions. So I think we've kind of established now that resolutions may work for some people, but probably for most people, they're not going to work.
Yeah.
And by February, they're going to be out the window. So like we talked about in the beginning, our vision, our purpose here is to help you create lasting success, to help you find inspiration to actually make the changes to improve, to get better, and to grow. And so I think, just like you were talking about, one of the next bullet points that I have here is setting goals throughout the year. Goal setting shouldn't be a one and done thing.
Right.
It shouldn't be a change on the calendar and that's going to be my goal setting time. And then I'm going to eat junk food and do all the crap leading up to it and just give in to every addiction that I have for the next 2 months. And then all of a sudden on January 1st, I'm going to flip a switch and make changes. Goal setting should be taking place consistently throughout the year. And then,
I mean, I recommend like weekly taking inventory. How am I doing on these goals that I have? Revisiting your goals once a week. Put a reminder in your phone.
Yeah.
Something that reminds you, hey, it's time to check out your goals, take inventory, see where you're at, see where you need to make adjustments, improvements, whatever you need to do, and just revisit that regularly so that you're keeping it on top of your mind. And you can say, man, I didn't do great this week. Time to recommit and do better this next week.
Have that follow-up plan. Right? One of the mistakes that we talked about is not having a follow-up plan. Have a follow-up plan. Yeah. Set a reminder in your phone. Look back over your goals for the last couple of months and figure out where you've been successful, where you've seen yourself improve, and where you can do better. You talk about you started in June or July working on your physical health. Well, I started probably close to 2 years ago now because I recognized that something needed to change. COVID was kind of tapering off, and I had been home for 1.5 years and eating literally a bag of Cadbury eggs and a can of Dr. Pepper for breakfast, and just junk and not being physically active. And I recognized in myself that I was becoming physically, and I mean that was affecting other areas of my life, but I realized that I was becoming something that I never wanted to be and something that I never thought I would be. And so I started making little changes. And now it's been 1.5 years, and I'm not nearly where I want to be, but I've seen improvement. And I've recognized that, you know, I may not be exercising every day. I may not be going to the gym to exercise. I may not be able to run 3 miles without stopping. But I've seen improvements. I've gotten back down to a somewhat reasonable body weight, and I've been more active, and I've tried to build up my energy so that I can chase my kids around and have all of those things. And so having that follow-up plan, checking back in with your goals, and recognizing, I think that's another thing too with the giving up, is recognizing the small successes.
Yeah. exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't do everything I wanted to do, but I did do this,
Mhm.
right? And that's helped me.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. So I'm gonna build on that.
Yeah, which I think we talked about it as a weekly challenge a couple of months ago, was to recognize the small things, recognize the little wins. Anything that you've done today that was better than yesterday, celebrate it.
Yeah.
Right? 1% every day will give you dramatic improvement over the course of a year.
And then I think our last big talking point here is reverse engineering goals. So if you haven't heard of that, basically you take a look at where do I want to be by a certain point of time, and then you track backwards to figure out what do I need to do to get there. Right? So if it's, I want to be a certain amount more spiritually healthy or whatever, right? Like more knowledge of my religion or other religions or whatever. Or you figure out, okay, that's where I want to be. Now, what do I need to do to get there? You break it up into smaller chunks and smaller chunks. So maybe like the bigger goal is, studying a certain amount each or over time, like reading a certain amount of books that have to do with spirituality. Well, breaking that down into smaller chunks would be, okay, that's going to be one book every 2 weeks. Okay, let's make it smaller. That means I need to read 1 hour every day or whatever. Break that down into a daily amount. You reverse engineer that and you figure out on the small detail level, what do I need to do each day to make this happen?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I started doing several years ago. And it's an ongoing process because things are going to change. Your vision might change over the course of a year. You might read something new, or you might find a new idea that you want to chase. And so your vision's going to change. So what I do, and this is my recommendation, and obviously you can share yours, but my recommendation is this. I sit down typically once a year or so, and I don't really have a specific date set on it. But whenever I start to feel like I need to reevaluate, or I need to change, or I need to relook at my vision, I'll sit down and I take a minute. I'll meditate for a minute, and I'll try and clear my head. And then I think about, I've heard several different perspectives, but a lot of people like the 1-5-10 rule. So you think about where you want to be in 1 year, where you want to be in 5 years, where you want to be in 10 years. I like to just stick with the 5 year. And so I just like to set one day, and I'll think, I will just sit and close my eyes, and I imagine myself 5 years in the future, exactly where I want to be, doing exactly what I want to be doing. And I process that. And as I process that, and as I meditate through that, I think everything down to the detail. Where am I sitting? What kind of a couch am I sitting on? Is it a chair? Is it this? What kind of a house am I in? Is it my house? Is it a condo? Is it an apartment? Is it, right? Where am I? Who's surrounding me? Who's with me? What's the weather like? And I focus on very specific details of where I want to be in 5 years. And then once I have that vision, then I can start to reverse engineer and create the goals to get me there, right? Because as we have talked about probably, or you've probably heard, goals are simply the stepping stones to get to your vision, right? The vision is the dream. It's that goal without a time restraint on it. And so we set this vision, we create this plan that we have for ourselves, and then we can start to reverse engineer that. So I can say, okay, this is where I want to be in 5 years. This is my ideal situation 5 years from today. Where does that take me in 1 year? And then when I open my eyes, when I come back into it, I can start to think about, okay, so if that's where I want to be in 5 years, where do I need to be in 1 year? If I want to retire in 5 years, if I want to have a new house, if I want to have a cabin up in Vail, Colorado, if I want to have whatever, if I want to have these things, where do I need to be in 1 year to be closer, to be on track to accomplish that goal? And then break it down even smaller into quarters of the year. So where do I need to be in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
And that's what businesses do.
That's what businesses do.
Here's our 5-year goal or 1 year, our quarterly. Okay, what does that mean for this quarter?
Yeah.
Let's break it down smaller.
And I don't know how your company does this, but I sit down quarterly with my boss
Mm-hmm.
and go over my goals. So I set annual goals, and that reflects in my incentive package, and whether or not I accomplish those goals affects my incentive pay for the year. And so we'll sit down and we'll set the annual goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then every quarter we sit down and go over my progress and
Mm-hmm.
how am I doing and where am I with these goals and am I on track to accomplish them. And so personally, you should be doing the same thing. Take inventory every 3 months. So then once you've figured out that annual goal, where do I need to be in 3 months? Where do I need to be in the next quarter? And then break it down even farther. So where does that mean that I need to be in 1 month? And then where does that mean I need to be at the end of this week? And then from that, right, so we break all of these visions down and make a plan out of it. And then from that, I can say, okay, I need to create action steps. I need to set the goals to get me to where I need to be at the end of this week, at the end of this quarter, at the end of this year. So what do I need to do today, right now, that's going to put me on the path to getting there,
Mm-hmm.
right? The path to success always starts with one step.
Mm-hmm.
So what is
Exactly.
that one step? What's the thing that I need to change right now? What's the thing that I need to do right now to start me down that path?
And then start doing it, and don't give up when you.
And then start doing it. And guess what? If I am on a path this direction, right? For those of you that are listening and not watching,
Stage right.
But if I start taking off on a path to the right, or let's use a better visual example, right? If I go on a hike and I hit a trail, and at some point I see another little trail that veers off, and so I go take it, and I find out that it leads me not to the destination that I'm going to. Right? We do this when we go camping, when we have a destination, when we want to go to a theme park, when we go anywhere, right? We have this destination in mind, and then we plan out the trip to get there. And so if I get off course, does that mean that I just give up on my trip and I decide, hey, kids, we were going to go to Disneyland, but I made a wrong turn about a mile back, and sorry, we're just going to have to turn around and go home.
Exactly.
It's ludicrous, right? It's stupid. And so if you get off course, if you get off track, if you take a wrong step along the way, correct it. Get back on track and keep going to Disneyland. Right? Yeah. You've got this vision in your mind, you've got this dream in your mind that you want to go to Disneyland and ride Splash Mountain before they change it to Princess Tiana and Princess and the Frog. I'm actually really excited for that.
But you have to experience it before.
Yeah, you got to experience it before and after. So I've got this plan, I've got this dream, I've got this vision. Why would I give up on that just because I made a wrong turn?
Right.
And so reverse engineering is just what action steps can I take today to get me to where I want to be in that vision?
Exactly. Yep. So set goals now. Whenever you're listening to this, right? Set goals, constantly look at them regularly, look at them, reevaluate, and take that big vision and reverse engineer it down to what do I need to do now? Build that plan so that you're not just kind of throwing darts in the dark.
Yep.
Exactly. So we hope that this has been an inspiring episode for you to watch, to listen to. Mm-hmm. And we're on to our weekly challenge, which I think is you.
Okay.
On you,
so the weekly challenge this week is actually kind of a big one because we've been talking about resolutions versus goal setting and plan and vision and all of that kind of stuff. So we've been doing this for a while now. So those of you that are listening should already be on a path where you understand kind of the process of all of this now. So the weekly challenge that I have is to take 10, 15 minutes out of your day today, whenever you listen to this, take 10 or 15 minutes, focus, ground yourself, center yourself, read a book, do whatever you need to clear your mind, and create that 5-year vision, that 10-year vision, whatever is most important to you. Figure out where you want to be at that stage of life and be as specific as possible. Figure it out to what color is the carpet? What type of clothes are you wearing? Figure out the fine details and then start to reverse engineer. If that's where you want to be in 5 years, where do you need to be in a year? Where do you need to be in 3 months? Where do you need to be at the end of the month? And then think of one action that you can take today that will get you closer to that, and do it.
Yeah, start working on it.
Yep.
And as you do that, you're going to notice changes. You're going to get more excited. You're going to make more changes. And if you just stick with it and slug through the periods of time where you just don't feel like doing it anymore, you'll that motivation will kind of come and go. Just stick with it.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. Again, we appreciate the 5-star reviews or 2-star reviews. Just let us know how we're doing. Share it with someone. And we'll have new weekly episodes every Monday is the goal.
Yeah. Leave us comments. Send us messages. Let us know if there's a topic that you want to hear about. If there is something that we can do to improve and give you a better message, let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts, hear your feedback on that. Obviously, we say every time that we're going to be doing this weekly that holidays got away from us, but we're back on track, and we've set a resolution that we're going to do it weekly this year.
Do it. Yep. So you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google.
Yep. Anywhere, well, all of the bigger platforms where you get your podcasts.
We should be on there.
Should be there.
Wherever you're listening to us now, just keep listening there, probably. But.
Share us with your friends.
Yeah.
We want to try and reach as many people as we can. We want to help and inspire people.
Yeah.
As many as we can. So.
And I'm not sure what our next topic is going to be. We have a couple of ideas that we're deciding between right now. So one of the things we will be talking about soon is going to be Alzheimer's and some things you can do now to try to prevent that in the future. We also want to talk about being open-minded when it comes to other ideas and religions and things like that. That's a big topic we want to talk about. So those are a couple that are in the pipeline.
Yep.
So we'll see what next week's ends up being.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, join us next week for whatever we end up talking about.
Coming back. Thank you.
All right, bye.
See ya.